This is a movie review for Jeremiah Johnson, directed by Sydney Pollack, starring Robert Redford. So, this is a pretty interesting movie from 1972. I just kind of stumbled upon it, and um, basically, most of the movie takes place in the wilderness. He's in a town in the very beginning. The rest of it, he's in the wilderness. He's interacting with Native Americans and some other Bushmen, basically. Um, it's a really good movie. It's it's different. You wouldn't really see a movie like this these days. It's directed by Sydney Pollack. John Milius is one of the screenplay writers, and I think he produced it too. Um, it's a gorgeous movie in the wilderness. The cinematographer is Duke Callahan. Oh, he shot Conan the Barbarian. That makes sense. Some of this kind of doesn't remind me of Conan, but like Conan's in the wilderness like a lot. The Yakuza he worked on, which is I think Sydney Pollack, Miami Vice. So so yeah, Conan the Barbarian's a gorgeous movie too. Um, so a really good movie. I'd recommend it for Robert Redford fans or Sidney Pollack fans or John Milius or people that just want to watch a movie that he's basically in the wilderness interacting with very few people. But I found it entertaining the whole way through. Um, so yeah, I'll get into spoilers now. Robert Redford starts off. He's in a town. He's buying supplies, and he basically I think most of it's in Colorado, and he's pointed in a direction. I think he says for good fishing. The guy says, "Well, head towards the Rockies. Go west towards the Rockies. Turn left, and there you go." And he does that. And he's in the wilderness. He's fishing. He encounters a Native American who just kind of looks at him and kind of laughs and then moves on. And he's doing not great. He's surviving. Um, and then he encounters a guy who's been living in the wilderness for a long time by the name of Bear Claw. That's William Greer, and he basically trains him, teaches him how to do what he's doing even better. Um, Shows him the ropes. Maybe in the hero's journey, he'd be like the old wizard, kind of. Um, so, so the summary is a mountain man who wishes to live the life of a hermit becomes the unwitting object of a long vendetta by the Crow tribe and proves to be a match for their warriors in single combat on the early frontier. I'm not sure if it says the year, but he mentions the Mexican American War. Um, and he's I think he's wearing a army hat. So he was in the military probably, and I think Bear Claw mentions that to him. Um, so he's going through. He gets his training from Bear Claw. He's with him for a while. This guy specializes in killing grizzly bears, and then he meets, as is described, crazy woman. Allie Ann McLeary is the actress's name. She's going crazy because two of her kids were killed, and She can't deal with it. And then there's another kid that's in the house that's still alive. I assume it's her kid. Um, but they bury the other kids. She won't eat. Um, she tells him to leave with the other kid. And it's kind of like, okay, you lost two of your kids, but now you're just gonna abandon your other kid? Okay, I guess. But doesn't make sense to me. But she's pretty much lost it, and so he does. He takes the other kid, the small boy, with him, and they go throughout the wilderness, and then they run into a guy who's buried in the sand except for his head, and that's Stefan Gearshok Delgu, and he's buried in the sand up to his head. He has a shaved head, and they dig him out, and then they go with him, and then they run into a Native American tribe, and um, they run into a Native American tribe, and then the Delgu knows the guy. He's friends with the chief, who speaks, I think, French. Because he knew the French, and they're Christian, and the tribal leader is going to give them some things, and then Jeremiah Johnson, not knowing the proper etiquette, also says, "Oh, okay, I'll give you some things too." And then the guy's like, "Why'd you do that? You're insulting them because they were going to give you stuff, and now he has to give you something even greater than what you're going to give." So he's like, "Oh, okay." So he says, "Okay, you're going to marry my daughter," and he can't refuse. And he says, and then the guy says, "If you refuse, then this isn't good for you." So he does. He marries her. Her and the kid and him, Jeremiah Johnson, keep going in the wilderness. They actually all start to like each other. They're like a family. They build a house. They plant food, and they're happy for a while. But then a group of Americans in the military, and I think it's the Department of the Interior, he says, encounter them, and they say, "Hey, there's this group of people, these pioneers, and they're stuck in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere, and they're freezing to death. So can you help us get to them? Because we don't know how to." And he's like, "Oh, you just go west through the canyon over there, and you'll get to them." And then they're like, "Can you show us? Like, it'd be really appreciated." And he's like, "Okay." Um, so he does, but they end up going through or a Native American burial ground. And Jeremiah says, "No, we shouldn't go this way. We should go around. It will take an extra couple days, but if we go through and they know it, then we will. It's a huge insult, and it will put our lives in danger." The cavalrymen don't care. They say, "No, we're going through. We don't want to waste time." He doesn't like it, but he still goes with them. They find the group of people, and then he starts to realize, "Oh, this kind of puts my wife and kid in danger." He runs back, tries to get back as quick as he can. He finds them, and they're dead. So they killed them because he insulted their tribe. He then burns the place down. He goes on a vendetta quest to find them and um, attack them and attack as many as he can. He runs back into Delgu, who left earlier, and they both kind of fight some. Then they part ways, and basically he's just continue. He fights tons of them, and they kind of just attack him one on one. But there's actually some good action. It's pretty intense. I mean, I don't even know how many he fights. He fights a bunch of them. And then in the end, I think he sees like their chief, and he kind of nods to him. He nods back, and it's kind of like, okay, respect. Like you're a great warrior. Like we have respect for you. Um, and then the movie ends, and it's a really good movie. It's really interesting. Definitely don't make these kind of movies anymore. Very contemplative, not that much talking, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's probably influenced some video games, maybe, um, and some other things, but yeah, you don't really see movies like this anymore. Robert Redford's really good in it. He doesn't talk that much, but he's very good, and it's just an enjoyable movie. I definitely recommend it if this sounds interesting at all. But I guess that's about it. Sydney Pollack's a good director. He's also an actor in Eyes Wide Shut from Kubrick. It's a beautifully shot movie. And then trivia. Many of the locations for the film were shot on or near Robert Redford's property in Utah. He owned approximately 600 acres there at the time, although some locations were as much as 600 miles away. Wow. And he owns 600 acres? Scores of Native Americans from northern Utah were hired as actors, extras, and background artists. Based upon a real life trapper named John Johnson, nicknamed Liver Eater Johnson, and his penance for cutting out and eating the liver of Native Americans he had killed. Okay, so this is partly based on a true story, I guess. Um, but yeah, I guess that's about it. Really enjoyed the movie. Check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. That's about it.